think you're a little too far from me.
Social distancing. Bill, you can't take a hint.
I just accepted at face value.
Go over to that chair.
I'm not qualified over there. Hey, that's right. You don't ask questions, you answer them over there.
Please stand to say pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Clerk will please call the roll.
Chairperson Carroll,
Here.
Vice Chair Young,
Here.
Secretary Treasurer Heft, Mayor Morrow,
Here.
Councilmember Gearbow, acting as recording secretary Weberline here, Commission members Beardsley,
Here.
Fosdick,
Here.
and Troika.
Is there a motion to accept the amended agenda?
Move to approve as amended.
I have an additional amendment, if you don't mind. I've never done this in my entire career on Planning Commission, but since I was absent last week, our last meeting, when item 2209 was discussed, site plan for what we know as Mickey's Dairy Twist, I just have something that I need to talk about on that.
So actually, I'll move then, I'll still move, Mr. Chairman, with the inclusion of Mr. Beardsley's amendment. And then I have two items as well. I want to briefly touch upon the item that was removed from tonight's agenda, a preliminary site plan for the old Ruby Tuesdays space. And then I want to talk about an $18 million federal grant request that we would like the assistance of the Planning Commission in petitioning our federal representatives to allocate. So I'll move to approve as amended.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Beardsley?
I think he wants to bring it up under discussion.
Yeah, at the end of the meeting.
Oh, okay.
It's fine.
Is there a motion to accept the minutes of the last meeting as submitted?
So moved to approve the meeting minutes of April 27th as distributed, submitted, sorry.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's passed. Under the Open Meetings Act, any citizen may come forward at this time and make comments. Persons requested but not required to state their name and address. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes per person, and this citizen comment period will be limited to 45 minutes. Being no people approaching, public hearings, none. On to the new business. A signed exemption request from Jim Peters of the Saline Celtic Executive Committee for the Saline Millie sign. The memo has been distributed as of May 4th to City Manager O'Toole. Any questions?
Care to make a comment?
No, the request this year is substantially similar to as in past years. They're looking for an exemption for size, location, and duration to the city's general temporary sign ordinances. And we do recommend that if you are inclined to issue the exemption, you do so with similar provisions to past years.
Move to acknowledge receipt of the May 4th memo from City Manager.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. We have a motion on the table to, sorry.
That's right.
Would you like to speak? Present your case?
Jim, you want to comment? Yeah.
I don't have anything special to say.
Okay.
Thank you for consideration tonight. This will be our 25th festival. Should have been our 27th, but 2 years off there. We're already starting to sell tickets, selling tickets online. Come on down and see us. We'll have 100 pipers and a mass band march. Of course, our reenactors and all of our Irish and good Celtic music, lots of good beer, food. So come on down and see us. Kathleen, have you ever been down to the festival?
No, it'll be my first year.
With a name like O'Toole, you've got to make it.
I will.
So it's always fun to put these big signs up. I brought 2 examples in case you wanted to see. When I put them up, people drive by and they beep and they wave, and it's like the unofficial start of the festival. So I guess the signs will go up on June 12th, 30 days, correct? 30, so June 12th they'll go up and they'll come down July 11th. I make it the day after. Sunday's our cleanup day, but I make it Monday because Sunday I am spent. I got no more gas in the tank. So if anyone have any questions, happy to answer any questions. Anybody has any questions for me?
I have a question.
Yes.
I know about the Mill Pond sign, and I've been on this commission for a while, but how long have you been doing the Liberty School sign as well?
As long as I've been involved.
Yeah, for some reason, it's just not,
A good 8 years, yeah.
yeah,
For a while, it was out across from Elmshire Farm,
okay.
over in that field until they started the
Yeah.
hotel, and then we moved over to Liberty. I'll have to touch base with Rex and with Larry down at DPW and tell them what I'm doing. We take weed whips up, we maintain the grass. Yes,
Just because I do signs too, the ones at Liberty, there's been increased bench, library, and right now there's another school sign there. I don't know when that's coming down. But the area in front of Liberty is becoming increasingly popular
yeah.
for things.
We generally go just to the north of the electronic sign,
Okay.
the one with the permanent signs there.
Saying it's maybe to talk to maintenance to see where's.
Oh, I'll talk to Brian Cuff, and I'll talk to Rex and folks out there. I'll put it where they tell me to put it, really, basically I do. So. But we're plenty far from the sidewalk and from the street. So I'm psyched for another year. It's gonna be good to get back to it again.
Any other questions?
Nope, okay, all right.
Thanks,
thank you.
Jim.
Go on down and see us.
I'll move to approve as written here.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the exemption request.
Point of clarification, Mr. Fosdick, is that with all the 6 conditions as enumerated?
As it is presented to us.
Okay.
Any other questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's passed.
Thanks, Jim.
Please come and enjoy the festival and the ice cream, too. Discussion items.
Bill, you want to start?
Sure, happy to. My apologies for missing the last meeting. I was unavoidably out of town, and I know it was a really important meeting and agenda, and I did review it on video just to sort of catch up, and I think the commission did a great job navigating through challenging topic. When item 2209, the site plan for the conversion of Mickey's Dairy Twist property to a cannabis dispensary first came up before this commission, I expressed concern about the intensity of use and parking. And I think there's some forward movement by the opening up of the property to sort of a better design, but I think we're going from what is now you might call it not good parking and traffic situation to one that may not be good enough, and that's sort of my perspective, and I'm just one person who thinks that. But I'm reminded of the distillery, the fabulous distillery that we turned down not so long ago, just down the street because of concerns about traffic congestion and adding to that with starts and stops. I think this commission did a great job, as I said, navigating through these concerns. And I really do respect the fact that we have a preliminary process that is supposed to identify all the major impediments to a development so that developers aren't surprised at the final to have something that, they could have worked on before. So I sort of feel trapped that here I'm sitting here sort of with the same concerns I had 2 meetings ago, and we've already gone past preliminary and we're headed towards final, and I'm just one vote, so it doesn't maybe matter. But I felt like it was important for me to say that I still have concerns about the traffic on the west side, the congestion at certain times of day, the number of parking spaces, for what is now intended as medical, proposed as medical, but intended as adult use recreational, which only becomes more difficult to consider. And even as commented by some of the speakers, the concerns from neighboring property owners about parking in other lots. So I wanted to at least put that on the record and let you know how, where I was at on it, and maybe by some extension, let the developer know that, in my view, there's still more work to be done.
Any other?
I got 2, very quickly, Mr.
Actually-
Chairman.
Actually, I'd like to make a note also regarding the marijuana facility. One question we asked 4 weeks ago was if they would consider tearing both buildings down and redesigning a more appropriate and better placed building. The comment at the time was for medical marijuana, it wasn't cost feasible. Let me ask, I again apologize for not being here, but did they talk about that option at all?
I don't recall any discussion or comments reference the demolition or removal of the existing Mickey space, only the single-family home directly adjacent to the west. Okay. But that is certainly something we could inquire about or bring up if or when they submit for final site plan approval.
Very good. Okay.
2 real quick, Mr. Chairman, just primarily for the public's edification. So there was a more substantive action item on the agenda tonight. It was essentially the repurposing of the old Ruby Tuesdays restaurant on East Michigan Ave at the city limits of, at Industrial and US 12. At the petitioner's request, that has been removed. I'm not sure if we anticipate, City Manager O'Toole, that proposal returning. My comments, just very briefly, and these may or may not reflect the majority sentiment on the Planning Commission, but I thought a daycare in a former restaurant bar space at that particular location, in that particular shopping center, was wildly inappropriate. Now, that being said, my office and city staff would be delighted to work with the applicant if they'd like to find an alternative location in the city of Saline. But that building, at least in my judgment, ought to be a restaurant and bar. That's synergistic with the adjacent enterprises that is a commercial zone. And that's probably a position that I will maintain with some level of passion, for lack of a better way to articulate it. So apart from that, many of you may be aware that the city is applying for an $18 million federal grant to help with the rehabilitation of our wastewater treatment plant. And if you believe in expediting that project and also controlling costs, we really need an influx of dollars from outside this organization. And this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, in large part because of the President's recently approved infrastructure statute. So everyone on City Council, staff, a number of our community stakeholders, including Saline Area Schools, the Saline Chamber of Commerce, Saline Main Street, and Saline Social Services, have all written letters or communicated to our 2 United States senators, and we're kind of in an awkward position right now because we're currently represented by Tim Walberg until the end of this calendar year, and then beginning in January, we will be represented, all of Washtenaw County will be represented by Congresswoman Dingell. So we have engaged 4 elected officials, hoping to get $18 million, again, to rehab our wastewater treatment plant. I don't mean to steal any of your thunder, but I understand you had a conversation. We've already spoken to Congresswoman Dingell, and she was very receptive to our request. I've been playing phone tag with Congressman Walberg's staff. I believe you've spoken to Senator Stabenow's staff.
Correct.
And they've indicated that they are receiving communiques from people in Saline.
Yes.
Which is positive. But in order to make this happen, we really need 2 things. We need the support of all of our members of Congress, and we need community leaders like yourselves to call, email, or write to encourage allocation of this $18 million request. So that having been said, I've spoke to our staff liaison and our temporary recording secretary, Miley Weberline, earlier today, and sometime before noon tomorrow, she will email you the contacts for Senator Peters, Senator Stabenow, Congresswoman Dingell, and Congressman Walberg. She'll also provide you some sample letters, and if you could, again, reach out either by phone, email, or by written letter, we would greatly appreciate that. These requests are often not successful unless there is a groundswell of public support. And I would also note that this is just the first round of funding of federal infrastructure dollars. So the first round will be allocated through a federal appropriation. Subsequent to that, those dollars are allocated to the state, and then the state government appropriates them subsequent to that disbursement. So we actually could have theoretically 2 bites at the apple. So long story short, I know that was long-winded. Please consider doing your part and reaching out. We would really like these funds, again, to control costs, but more importantly, to expedite a very important and timely project in the Saline community. And I'm happy to take any questions you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
And, I mean, as we, with our neighbors, and anyone else, if you can please pass this information on to them, so every citizen can have an opportunity to voice their opinion.
Definitely. With that, Mr. Chairman, unless there's anything else to be brought before Planning Commission tonight, I would be delighted to move to adjourn at 7:16.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed.